Observations from afar. Occupied Afrin. Journal entry. Every day that Afrin remains occupied is another day of suffering for those living within the region. It is saddening to hear the reports of kidnapping, murder, and general disorder. How far Afrin is from safety of prior years. There are no longer local people to take care of the land. Only blood, sweat, and tears remain. Olive trees now grow from blood-soaked land. Displaced Afrini residents live in scarce conditions in neighbouring Shahba region in Tal Rifaat, awaiting an inevitable invasion from the occupiers of the Turkish state, whose desire it is to extend their occupation territory. Over 100,000 displaced, and it is not enough to feed that violent warmonger in Ankara, the new Sultan of Anatolia. The armies of Sultan Erdogan took a region where millions of war-scarred civilians sought refuge and turned it into a hellscape, forcing those same war-scarred civilians to flee once again and start over, without home or business to provide for their loved ones, unable to return to the area without threat of violence. There seems to be no one that cares to stand up to Erdogan and his autocratic regime. The ones expected to are acquiescing to his demands for territory and offering up more territory under the guise of maintaining a fractured alliance. These negotiations take the form of a proposal by the United States for a safe zone in Syria's northeast, one running along Turkey's southern border. The United States under Trump does not currently possess a backbone. There does not appear to be anyone in Washington bold enough to act in the manner demanded by the highest office. While Trump lampoons his critic with barrage after barrage of tweets, he cozies up to the Sultan and sends Jim Jeffrey to strike an appeasement deal, a deal that would trade blood for Ankara's good graces. Stretching from Kobani to the border crossing between Rojava and Bashur at Fesh Kabur, and with a depth of 5 kilometers, this safe zone would see civilians as well as Kurdish militants expelled from Turkey's southern border. A reasonable idea to anyone with any cursory knowledge on the region, but a ludicrous one to those with a proper understanding of the lives living there. There are over 1 million people that live in that region. That is 1 million plus people who will be forcefully displaced. Where will they go? This safe zone is nothing but a noose around the neck of the people living in the northeast. It is a death zone, not a safe zone. Jeffrey is trying to convince the international community to endorse this zone and send troops to monitor it. The problem with such a plan is the disinterested parties, notably European states, are not guaranteed to maintain a long-term presence, nor stand up to the Sultan's armies should he decide to march them south. The very fact that such a proposal is being made shows what era the world is in. Autocrats, whether they be mustached racist zealots to revolutionary despots, should not be appeased. Hitler was handed Czechoslovakia through appeasement and still ended up annexing most of Europe as well as starting a world war. After most of the free world closed up their Pandora's box, again, many nations banded together and declared, "Never again." Nearly 80 years later, and you would think that never again was declared in jest. Since then, dictator after dictator has continued to rampage regions, creating mass violence and suffering in their wake. And, as was done in the past, someone put Pandora's box aright. One only can hope that the chaos wrought by Erdogan's regime in Syria will be put back in its place before Mal Safar. I sincerely hope so, or else there will be blood. Written by Anthony of Easterbison, 16th of the 7th, 2019.